Okay, this lecture is going over finishing chapter 26 in your text. Finishing begins after the garments are sewn, the loose threads are trimmed, and garments are inspected and any defects are repaired. Garments are pressed, folded, or hung, tagged, and packaged for shipment. Those procedures are all part of the process that is called finishing. That's what we will go over today. Specific ways that items are pressed, folded, or hung, and we'll get into packaging in the next lecture. There's wet processing, which is a part of finishing, and then there's the pressing, which is the main part we'll focus on today. The different types of pressing are pressing, ironing, set, steam, shrink, underpress, finger pressing, and sponging. Wet processing is when some finished garments want the performance properties or the aesthetic appearance to change, and that's done through washing, dyeing, or sanding, and that's all part of wet processing. So when you wash a garment, you can wash it to soften or alter the color by using bleach, pumice stone, or some type of enzymes or acid. You can wash to pre-shrink garments because some tags will come saying pre-shrunk, meaning that when you take it home and wash it, it shouldn't change in size. Wet processing also includes over dyeing to add color, and also sanding to remove color and abrade the fabric on a certain portion of a garment. You know how some jeans will be worn, have the worn look or the faded look. That is done during the wet processing. When we talk about pressing in the finishing stages, pressing smooths the surface, shrinks fullness, adds shapes, it fabric darts, curved seams, and the cap of sleeves. To figure out what type of pressing you're going to do, you need to consider fiber content and the temperature of the pressing tool. The fiber texture determines how the fabric should be handled. And when you're picking the pressing tool, you'll have to consider the fabric finish, the garment style, the garment construction, and the technique of pressing. So next we'll go over all the different production pressing equipment that is used. Some of the main techniques and terms that are frequently used in the industry are pressing, ironing, set, steam, shrink, underpress, finger pressing, and sponging. Pressing is the process of alternatively pressing down and lifting up a heated iron on fabrics with newly stitched seams, darts, and other parts of the garments to set them. So here is an example. Here's your iron. Here's the seam. This is it pressing the seam allowance open. So they're going to be pressing down, lifting the iron up, pressing back down to set this seam open. Ironing is a term that's frequently used, and when we talk about ironing, that's the process of sliding an iron back and forth over a wrinkled fabric or garment by means of pressing. And you can do this with or without steam. And this is basically to de-wrinkle a garment. It's one method of de-wrinkling material. Set is a term that's used to describe the process of flattening or creasing a section of a fabric or garment by means of pressing, again, with or without steam. So you know some pants have a permanent crease. If you look here on the left pants, permanent crease down the front and usually on the back too. That's done by laying the pants flat and setting them along the top and along the back. Steam is the process where steam is passed through the fabric to help remove wrinkles. And this can be used with a steam iron, a sleeve buck, a form finisher, or even a dampened press cloth. And this is an alternative method to have the steam rise up through the fabric from below. This technique is used a lot on expensive materials that can't handle the pressure or the weight of an iron. So for example, you'll see this a lot on evening gowns and finer material garments. Shrink is a steaming process where a specific area of a garment or fabric is shrunk, and it's caused to draw in the material or shrink it in size. So here's an example of the shearing. And before the shearing is shrunk, it's laid out flat and there's not a lot of texture or detail. But then after you steam it, you can really see the gathering and the texture. Underpress is another term that's used, and this is the process of pressing small units of work, such as finished collars, cuffs, pockets, yokes, seams, darts, and tucks. And you do this as construction of the garment proceeds. So here's an example of an iron underpressing a dart. And it's called underpressing because it's going to be on the inside of the garment, so underneath. And here's an example of a collar being underpressed to really get a nice crease and help it lay really flat. Finger pressing. This is where someone uses a finger in place of an iron to help open a seam or to crease a fold. This technique can be used on garments or materials that are really sensitive to heat or really loosely woven fabrics, because sometimes heat can make a crease that is too that's hard to undo. So if you accidentally press it wrong and you have a deep crease, using a finger pressing technique is a better alternative in case there's an error. Sponging is the process of dampening the surface of a fabric or garment with a wet sponge, and this can help relax the fabric a little bit and remove wrinkles. Production pressing equipment. There's a variety of different types of pressing equipment that can be used, and selecting appropriate equipment is essential to properly finishing a garment. There are many different types of equipment for pressing, some for really general use and others for very specific applications. The ones that we'll go through today are gravity feed iron, an iron rest, an iron shoe, an industrial vacuum ironing board, a steam iron and boiler, a steam press, a form finisher, a puff iron, a sleeve former, and a sleeve buck. The gravity feed iron is a weighted metal plate that tapers to a point at one end. It's furnished with a handle and a steam release control. It's connected to a water supply through a hose from a suspended water tank. This is an industrial iron that is used for a variety of pressing, ironing, setting, shrinking, and underpressing. An iron rest can be it's rectangular or iron shaped, that's flat, heat resistant, flexible rubber or silicone coated metal plate for an iron to rest on when it's not in use. And all industrial irons are designed to lay with the iron plate face down, as opposed to a lot of home irons that they're supposed to be rested facing up. These ones are intended to be laying down. If you look at this iron over here on the right-hand side, this is face down, and underneath it is the iron rest. So this is how all industrial irons should rest. An iron shoe is a metal fitting with a Teflon sheet laminated to the bottom surface that's perforated and shaped to strap the sole of a steam iron. An iron shoe is used in place of a pressing cloth to prevent scorching that can produce shine on the surface of some fabrics. So some synthetic fabrics, if you use a heat that's too hot, or use an iron plate that's too hot, it can produce shine or scorch the fabric. And using an iron shoe will help evenly distribute steam from the iron over the entire surface. An industrial vacuum ironing board. It's a flat board that tapers to 6 inches at one end and is supported at table height. The board is perforated, padded, and covered with fabric and is permanently fixed to a stand. So when a garment is steam pressed, there's excess moisture that's suctioned through the perforations and through the surface of the board. You can go ahead and copy and paste this link if you want to watch a quick video of it. And there's a steam iron and boiler. It's a weighted metal plate that tapers to a point at one end, right down here, this weighted metal plate, furnished with a handle and a steam release knob control. It's that black thing right back here. This iron operates with steam supplied through a hose that comes through a separate chamber. The water will be in here. Here's your hose cord. And this boiler heats the water into steam. So this part, this metal plate is used for pressing and creasing fabrics. This one will be for your softer, lighter weight materials or brushed fabrics like your fleeces and things that you don't want to put pressure onto. A steam press is a two-piece, can be flat or curved padded form that applies heat, moisture, and pressure all at the same time when the upper and lower opposing beds are activated, and it's usually by a foot pedal or by the handle on the top. These two are both handle activated. Here's the handles here. And when you press them down, steam, heat, moisture, and pressure are used to give a really nice crease in blouses and slacks. A form finisher is, this is a really neat type of pressing equipment that it's a collapsible fabric structure. This part underneath is collapsible, and it inflates and applies heat and steam when it's activated. And the shape of the pressing form is conformed to specific garments in the industry. So you can have a form finisher for shirts, evening gowns, knit garments. The example on here is like a men's jacket. And the structure will inflate and it will apply heat, and then you can also apply steam and press from the outside. A puff iron is an ovoid metal ironing head, and sometimes they can be covered or not covered. If you look at the pictures over here on the right, this one is not covered, and these three are covered. And this one has a sleeve over it, so we can't tell if this one is covered or not. But it's going to be fixed to a stand. And the ones that are padded are covered with some type of silicone treated fabric. And the puff iron is used to press or shape contoured seams. It's most commonly used to press puff sleeves or ruffled or intricate pocket details. And it can also be used to block and shape hats. So if you look over here, this guy's got a puffed sleeve pressed over the iron puff. And he is putting some water on it, and then he'll run an iron over it to really help give it volume. And this is an example of the sleeve finished after it's been pressed. Sleeve formers are used in their flexible metal form for shaping sleeves of jackets and coats during pressing on a steam press or a form finisher. And this right here, you press these two ends together and slip it inside a sleeve, and then it re-expands so you can get a really nice sleeve shape. The last one that we'll talk about is called the sleeve buck. This is a rounded metal covered padded board that's attached to an ironing board or press. This is used to press sleeves, short seams, and hard to reach areas. And this is a really great machine because it's got, if you look over here, it's got your full ironing board, the sleeve buck, and you can easily hang your industrial iron right here. It's just a great versatile piece.